Welcoming you guys back to the REL Chapters podcast. Doing it audio only this time around. I think I like these. I might start trying to do these for just for people who don't necessarily have time to sit down and watch and need to be on the go. That's how I do it. So I figure a lot of people might want to do that too. Anybody who wants to sponsor some of our podcasts or wants to have us do some plugs or promotions for them, for their company, you can email us at relacademyinc@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to sit down and figure that out with you and see if that makes sense. But today, so, I try to keep this stuff current when we're doing these podcasts. This is swinging into the AAU season. I've seen some circuits and events happen this past weekend. And, there's new stuff popping up every year. There's new circuits. I know Nike has there's the EYBL, Junior EYBL. I'll talk a little bit about that. But in general, every year it's the same stuff that comes across my mind and needs to be talked about with this stuff, which is, what is important? Why is it important? Who cares? Why should they care? And, my answer has been the same for years, which is, none of it really matters until you are a junior in high school. So the end of your sophomore year, so going into junior year, it doesn't, as far as AAU, it doesn't really matter until then, in the context of what everybody thinks it's supposed to matter. So if all you want to do is just have fun and have a good experience and all that, then it all matters, right? Like everything matters. It's an experience. You're looking to just have fun and play sports and be out of the house and not be on video games or whatever, right? Whatever the reason is, then everything matters. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. People are playing AAU basketball and going to showcase events and trying to go to this camp and that camp. They're doing that because that they think they are elite. They want to be elite. They want to be special. They want to get a scholarship. They want to play in the NBA or what have you, right? Like, let's keep it real. Even though I hear the same stuff all the time from parents. Well, I know my kid's not going to be a superstar. Half the time that's bullshit. Half the time they believe it. The other half, I think it's complete bullshit. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting your kid to be a superstar. I want my kids to be superstars. Why should you not want your kid to be a superstar? As far as success, I'm not talking about being famous or any of that shit. Shit, I hope none of my kids ever get famous, But as far as being successful at basketball and playing at the highest level and being an all-star type of thing, who doesn't want that, right? So that's why people do it. Now, what I'm saying is, if that is what you are trying to do, that it's not really going to matter until you are a junior in high school. Why? Because the fact of the matter is that people recruiting, college coaches who are recruiting basketball players, high school kids, they can't get a firm grip on who you are for the most part, and if you fit into their equation until you're that old anyway. So if I flip it the other way, right, let's say there's a phenom seventh grader and he's head and heels the best player in the country as a seventh grader. Well, if he ends up being the 700th best player in the country by the time he's a junior because he didn't keep getting better or whatever, then who gives a fuck what he was in seventh grade? Like, that's what people don't think about, and it kills me. When some AAU coach or some dad or anybody calls you and tries to give you a sales pitch on why you should be in their program and play in their shit, right? When they do that, you need to first understand that if they're selling you something on what it's going to do for your child, the person that calls you next is going to say the same exact thing. And if someone's going to try to tell you when your kid's in sixth grade, that they're getting exposure, like, that kills me. When people call you with a sales pitch about exposure and your kid's going to get this opportunity and that opportunity, those opportunities don't matter. Those opportunities don't mean shit when you're that young. Nobody cares about you when you're that young. As far as, again, in the perspective of college scholarship, elite type stuff. No one's looking at a 12-year-old for that. And this statement that I'm saying now has rung true my entire life, as a 33-year-old. That's been the truth my entire life. Now today, it's even quadruple the truth, because with the transfer portal and the free agency that comes along with the transfer portal and NIL and collectives at the college level. I said junior year in high school. I mean, shit. Almost every junior now, even that is obsolete. They don't even care about you until you're already in college and played a couple years. So, and how do I know this, man? It's not like this is just smoke. If I scroll through my phone right now, I don't know what the exact total is. I'm gonna guess 70. I probably have 70 Division 1 and Division 2. Actually, if you had Division 2 and 3 in there, it's probably more than 7. Let's say 70 Division 1 coaches' phone numbers in my phone. Okay, I'm gonna say about half of those people are that I communicate with some type of regular basis, or if I text them and call them, they'll hit me back, right? Those people, you hear the same things over and over. Like, that's where you get the information. You get the info from these people. These are the people you're trying to get to in the first place. So like, this is where I form my opinions, and when I put these things out, this is where it's coming from. I'm not just making up my opinion, because honestly, my opinion, who cares about my opinion or your opinion or everybody else's? Everybody has an opinion. Who cares? It doesn't matter how you feel. You know, you listening to this, you don't get anything out of this by listening to how I feel. You get something out of this by getting information that is, you know, factual, or at least somewhere in the realm or a perspective that you need to hear and see that could be validated. So you figure out, okay, how can I apply this to my situation now? How can this help me? How can this move me forward? So when you're dealing with the horse's mouth, literally, like, I don't know any other way to give it to you, but I'm telling you for a fact, they're not recruiting most juniors. They're not recruiting most seniors. They're recruiting second, third, fourth year college players to their college programs. So now let me go back. When a person calls you about your 12-year-old and tells you that there's exposure opportunities and they might have a chance at getting scouted and who gives a fuck? Like, you just got to be shitting me. And I sympathize or empathize with a lot of people who didn't play college sports, who weren't elite athletes, who didn't grow up with this basketball all year round thing. I empathize with you because you just have no idea, and you're just trying to get an opportunity for your child. And if you're a younger kid watching this, or you're listening to this, or a high school kid listening to this, you know, you can't, your parents just want what's best for you. But at the end of the day, they don't know. You guys just don't know. You just have no idea. So you believe shit. Again, I've used this analogy all the time. It's like I don't know anything about cars. So when I take my car into the shop because my car is telling me it needs an oil change, and then the people at the shop say, hey, you need new tires and new windshield wiper fluid, and your spark plugs are a little worn down, and you got this thing in the back where you know you're if you keep letting this go, you're gonna have like, I don't know. So I just gotta say, oh shit, well, you're telling me that. I don't know anything about cars. You do, because you do this. So, man, I must need it. That's essentially what is happening when youth programs and all these people call you up about this shit, man. When someone starts attaching the word elite and scout and rank and showcase and exposure to youth players, to 12-year-olds, when you start doing that, should be an immediate red flag, you know, immediate red flag. So trying to put these things in perspective for people is really hard to do, but I think it's so important, because what happens is the players and the parents, they start running in circles like it's a rat race. They don't know where to go, what to believe, and all of these things are just distractions, man. They're just distractions to the real, you know, path or journey or goal that you are on. And the harsh reality is, you know, that goal is probably never going to be reached by 99% of you. You know, 99, and I'm in that category. 99% of people are never going to reach that goal. And that is okay. That's completely okay. So what's not okay, though, is to be distracted off of the things that would even give you a chance to reach that goal in the first place. You know, so at the end of the day, man, it just comes down to, are you good enough or are you not? And let me link this back to the transfer portal thing. A 21-year-old who has already averaged 12 points and 3 rebounds and 1 assist is just a much safer bet. And that coach is going to think that player is better than you. They are good enough for, their team, versus a senior in high school who maybe averaged 20 or something. But guess what? It wasn't at the Division I level. So it comes down to, are you good enough or not? That coach has to figure out, they have to gamble, is this player going to be better than somebody else I can get? And that is the way that everything should be looked at. Everything should be looked at in that manner. Anyone who's involved in youth sports or any of this, just for fun and for social aspect and for, something to do. And I'm never speaking to you. Why am I never speaking to you? Because I wasn't one of those people. So we don't run this academy based off of those type of people. We weren't those people. So you're excluded, from any of this. But I just feel like, swinging back into AAU season, you just feel bad because you start to see people being grabbed by all of this bullshit, for lack of a better term. And you just see it over and over again each year. And it's important to, at least try to give people some real insight and light, because I know a lot of you are just swimming in your own thoughts, and every week it's trying to make a decision. Where do I play? Where do I go? And this team called me for this, that team called me for that. And, you get sold so much. So it's really tough to navigate. And, I'm a voice that's going to tell you, hopefully you hear it from others, I'm a voice that's going to tell you that none of it matters. Just put your head down and get better. Be extremely passionate. Do everything in your power to stay confident, to stay hungry, motivated. And, everybody has to play, right? Everybody has to play on teams and go to tournaments and play in leagues. So that part I understand. What I'm saying is, don't overlook where you're doing it. Don't allow people to keep pulling you from one thing to another. And we thought we were going to commit to this, and now we're going to commit to this, and we thought this was the right thing to do, and that none of it matters. Just progression, progression, progression. And this is where my opinion comes in. So this is what you could either throw to the wayside or take with you. Again, I believe just trying to simply get better all the time, whether the goal is met or not, whether you fail or succeed, as long as you tried to get better constantly and you were passionate about it constantly, that's the only thing that's really going to matter to your life as you get older and as time goes along. Because a person who is hungry and motivated and keeps the blinders on to just grinding and working, those people are very comfortable within their own skin. They can sit back and be happy about what they've done, whether they came up short or not, because they know they gave it their all. And more importantly, they enjoyed doing it. You don't get up 7 days a week and get after it if you don't love it. You do maybe for 1 week at a time and quit and never do it again. But people who have been living, that 12-year-old who's living the lifestyle of, it literally gets up every day and feels like they're a professional basketball player. They set up a schedule. They live a routine that is basically basketball 24/7. Those type of people, they're always going to be happy, man. They're not going to struggle. They're not going to feel unfulfilled. They're not going to be constantly looking in the rearview mirror or trying to see what that person's doing, or that they're never going to get hung up on that shit. It might distract them here or there, especially as young children. But when it's all said and done, when you're my age, you're going to be content. And you're going to continue that work ethic and passion in the next thing that you do, and the next thing that you do, and the next thing that you do. That is the true success. That is the true win. And in the mix of all of these new youth developments just keep popping up, it's just distracting us from that exact thing, that lifestyle of a grinder, and passion. So I hope that sheds a little bit of light on what is what, for one, but more importantly, I hope it burns a fire and just gives people a little bit more reassurance that, you're doing the right thing. You're not missing out. You don't need to overthink. You don't need to get the decisions correct or any of that. You just got to work and love it and continue to progress, and everything else will take care of itself from there. But that's all I got for you guys today. We may tap back on, well, I know we will, because AAU season's just rolling. So I'll be hitting more topics, pertaining to AAU. And like I said, I'd like to hear and see a little bit more about that junior EYBL. I have some quick, jerk reaction opinions about it, without knowing anything about it, though. So I don't want to speak on things I don't know anything about. I want to let some things roll out, let some of these events happen. Let me see what people are saying on social media, see what's happening with some of our own kids who are on it, and then I'll go ahead and, kind of give my perspective on junior EYBL and if it's good, bad, or great or whatever. But yeah, so REL chapters, you guys can find all of the podcasts. Most of them are video. You can go to youtube.com/REL Academy. All the podcasts are there. There's a podcast playlist. We do have them up on the audio versions, up on Spotify now. All of this is for free. And again, hope we just help some people figure out a little bit about what they're doing with their journey. RELacademy.com if you want to get involved with us in any way, shape, or form, or get our, one-on-one online basketball coaching and consulting through our app. You can download the REL Academy app in your app store. And see you guys for the next time.